really want to start off with this NBA walkout. Now, what happened was the NBA announced Wednesday it will postpone Game 5 of 3 different series in response to the Milwaukee Bucks' decision to boycott their playoff game following the police shooting of Jacob Blake in the team's home state of Wisconsin. Now, for those who are not familiar, Blake was a black man who was shot in the back by police on Sunday 7 times as he tried to enter his vehicle in Kenosha, Wisconsin. His shooting became the latest incident to prompt outrage nationwide over racial injustice and police brutality. So the 3 series that were postponed were the Bucks series against the Orlando Magic, Houston Rockets against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Los Angeles Lakers against the Portland Trailblazers. Interestingly enough, a buddy of mine who's a big Blazers fan was now the current discussion is, are they going to end the season? Because that's something that is actually on the table. And my buddy who's a Blazers fan, he's like, yeah, I'm 1,000% with it. I'm like, dude, your team's down 3-1 in the series. It's gonna end regardless. But
regardless for him, for sure.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And I'm going to just post this up just because this was a tweet that was getting a lot of engagement, and it's from LeBron James, who wrote, "Fuck this, man. We demand change. Sick of it." Now, I'm going to give him a pass on punctuation.
Yeah, right.
Particularly
it's Twitter.
Fuck this man. Yeah, it never really mattered.
Fuck this man.
I shouldn't be laughing at that, but always punctuation gets me. Anyways, so a lot of the responses to it has been about how the NBA would never boycott, like things about Hong Kong or China. And Jay, I saw you tweet something about how LeBron James was bent over and was taking it from behind by Winnie the Pooh, who is a caricature of Xi Jinping. And I'm curious, what was the inspiration behind that? Because I think you and I don't see eye to eye on this.
Well, for one, he's saying, what does Trump have to do with the shooting in Wisconsin?
But is he saying "fuck this man" as in like, I don't? Is he directly addressing Trump? I don't feel like he is.
Oh, I believe he is. Who's he saying "fuck this man" to? The person who shot the police officer?
Well, that's why I think that's like "fuck this, comma man." Like fuck this man. Come on.
Oh, you mean like
okay? Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
That's what that. Yeah, I get it.
So is it?
I thought he was talking about Trump. It went like
really
like that with me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
but now I get what you're saying. Like he's like, "Fuck this man. We demand change. Sick of it. Demand change."
This is why English should have been your first language. You fucking asshole.
Well, unfortunately, it was my second language taught by my American mom. Well, and also Pakistani teachers. So I blame you.
Oh,
being in the UAE,
well, fuck me. Because
they told us it was pronounced vegetables.
So, but here's the responses I'm seeing to LeBron, and I think honestly, I probably will be alone in this thinking this because I don't think this protest really has anything to do with China. Like, LeBron tweeted, he said something last week about how we'll never bend or break for anyone. And like, that's a legitimate criticism you could say where LeBron James' argument is flawed because they obviously bent and braked for the Chinese government and not defending Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets when he was advocating for democracy in Hong Kong. Like that is like legitimate criticism. And I had a tweet about it last week to the tune of "She's so high above me," and I sent that to a friend of mine who obviously left of center, and he and I we discussed these issues back and forth, and we kind of shed a bit of light to each other on these things. And he's like, "One, you ruined the perfect song. a perfectly classic song, and two, you're right about that point. So like, yeah, that's legitimate criticism you make. I don't know if criticizing LeBron James and NBA players for doing a boycott to actually demand change right now with police brutality merits that type of criticism. Because like, you had the Milwaukee Bucks actually get in touch with the Wisconsin Attorney General and the Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor. I actually talked to them this afternoon. That is way more than any protest I've seen them do, whether it be kneeling for the flag, raising the fist in the air, wearing jerseys with custom-made social justice mottos or slogans. Like, you can make criticism about the NBA never recognizing or simply like stamping out any advocacy for Hong Kong, the Uyghur Muslims in China. But like, this one to me is just different. Is it not? I mean, like, it feels different. And it's like to the point where like, I can't really critique them right now until I see what happens. So I'm going to listen to them, find out what exactly they're looking to do before I make an assessment of it. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, see, I never worry about making an ass of myself. So I would always assume and jump right into it because ass is my middle. No, what I feel is I think this is all for show. Yeah, they boycotted one game that's rescheduled. Let's see them do it again. Let's see them boycott the whole season.
But as we're recording right now, the NBA is meeting in the bubble right now about potentially suspending or ending the season.
Do it.
Like just straight up.
Do it.
So
if they do it, it brings some merit. Do it. Donate the money to special causes. Don't get paid. Walk out. Forfeit. Don't do your job.
I mean, that's making a huge statement, at least in my opinion.
No, it would. If they cancel the finals, if they don't do the playoffs this season and just wash the season, do it. And then Golden State gets rid of their number 2 pick in the draft. Yeah, do it. Let's see it.
You just want to see Golden State get rid of their second pick. Billy Finn, thank you, Billy, chiming in here. Of course, it merits that type of criticism. Why aren't they boycotting the league for running child abuse camps next to the modern day Auschwitz? Look, I am not saying that the ESPN did that investigation where they found that NBA camps in China, particularly Xinjiang, were had rampant abuse of these kids, and that's unfortunate. And I think it's abhorrent that the NBA has stamped out any sort of discussion about it, and they've prevented their employees, whether it be players or actual NBA employees, from speaking out about the matter. It's awful. I don't know, but like this,
it's hypocritical too. So people find it very hypocritical because they're going to stand here and say that, social justice happening here that are to the extent of.
Here's what I'm worried. Here's what I'm worried about. And this has a lot to do with, sort of just when it comes to discussing these things in the public domain. First, it started off with Black Lives Matter, and that Black Lives Matter was countered by All Lives Matter. And I feel like by constantly countering any form of protest, whether it's legitimate or not, particularly this one, because I feel like there's something different about this one. I'm waiting to see what that is before making an assessment on it. And I'm urging caution to the Habibis to like at least figure out what they're actually trying to advocate for before we make an assessment. Because I'm worried that people are going to start considering bringing up China and why aren't they criticizing China as like an all lives matter like response to any form of protest that NBA players are going to engage in. And I feel like that might cause even more dismissive nature of the Chinese Communist Party's danger to the world and the threat to the world. And I feel like maybe it's just me. Maybe I just feel like it's kind of a disservice to constantly flail the LeBron James' lack of response to China on this particular protest. I don't know. What do you think?
Right. Well, it makes it feel like there's a lot that he lacks a lot of validity in certain issues. Now, it's the reason why that is because when you bring up and this is before the Blake shooting, whenever you wanted to bring up something like that, they're like, oh, they're just different. It's just a different culture. We can't talk about this stuff.
Right.
Blah, blah,
no,
blah.
and it's totally unacceptable because Adam Silver definitely did that.
Right. And not only him, so did LeBron James. So the problem where it comes from is that these people personally don't have the validity on being people who actually stand up for social justice. And to me, I think LeBron James just watched The Last Dance, and he watched the episode where they were criticizing Michael Jordan for not speaking up on social issues. And he's like, this is the one thing I can actually be better than him on.
Well, I mean, it seems to be working because a lot of people are saying that LeBron James is now becoming the greatest of all time simply because of him being political. So
I could never see LeBron James as better.
Nate chiming in here. Thank you, Nate. Nate BB saying, Siraj, on behalf of many of the Habibis in the chat, we request that you please change your shirt. Is it really that triggering?
I don't know. It could be.
No, I'm gonna say I'm gonna take a stand
I think
here.
You look great, dude.
Oh, thank you, Habibi. I'm gonna just
You're about
remove
to put on some.
one more.
Oh, there you
more
go.
Button. Yeah, one more button.
Put on some beige shorts and let's go golfing.
Nate, if you want a refund, I totally get it. But I'm not changing the shirt. So anyways, I'm interested to hear what the Habibis think. I think a lot of people, anytime something like this happens, like whether, there's a protest where it's kneeling during the national anthem, like that's a lot of virtue signaling, raising the fist in the air, changing the custom jerseys so that you have social justice slogans on there, a lot of virtue signaling. This one to me just feels different. And I will see how far this actually goes. And I'm hoping that if they actually do get change, it won't be in vain of losing the entire season. Anyways, a few developments in this Jacob Blake case because there was a lot of shit that happened in the last few days. First of
actually,
which,
the last few hours too.
Yeah. The most recent development is what the Wisconsin Department of Justice announced just this evening, reporting that Jacob Blake had a knife in his car. And in the press release, they wrote, during the investigation following the initial incident, Mr. Blake admitted that he had a knife in his possession. DCI agents recovered a knife from the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's vehicle. A search of the vehicle located no additional weapons. So now the question is, when Blake was going into his car, because I assume everybody who is tuning in watched the video of Jacob Blake getting shot in the back 7 times, who, by the way, still in the hospital, reportedly paralyzed from the waist down, and is still having a lot of surgeries. Look, I don't want anyone to die, even if they have a past of one of Jacob Blake's, which has been questioned as to whether he's, they use that term, he's no angel. Like, okay, everybody has a checkered past, some worse than others.
Right.
But with Blake, like, he may not have deserved to get shot 7 times, and especially in the back. And this is a tough one. because how do you know where, without like a proper investigation, we're just going based off of what's being reported. And
right.
The only thing I can say right now is that from the look of the video alone, if we just have to ask the questions: was Blake attempting to grab his knife in the car to try to use it against an officer? I have no idea. Does that make a difference between not shooting him and shooting him? Look, I think the officer probably used. I don't know what was going through their head, but this sounds like to me, to me, it sounds like excessive force.
No, to me too. I mean, even with the some of the stuff that's coming out, there was also a warrant for him that was dispatched to them as they were going to him, going at him and stuff. And even if he's just going into his car, that is pretty aggressive to even get a weapon. I mean, you don't shoot somebody in the back 7 times when they're unarmed walking to the car, basically.
But even if they're admitted that he had a knife, do you think the police had reasonable suspicion to think he had something else in his car?
If he had a knife, yeah, I do think so, especially if now I don't know the full reports. All I know is that
that's because the full report hasn't been done.
Right. All I know is there was a warrant out that he was dangerous, and a woman called on him, the police on him. And if they saw a knife in his hand, and as he was going into the car, could be mistaken for something else. But again, this goes into like if somebody has their back towards you, and there's how many police officers were there? Not one of them had a taser.
No, they used the taser, but the taser wasn't working. The taser failed to stop him. So that's the issue, is that they went from the taser, which is in some states considered lethal force, just like with the case of Rayshard Brooks, and then using a service weapon 7 times is egregious. LB chiming in here, who's the Habibi lawyer, the legal counsel of the Habibis.
Great feet pics too.
She writes here, officer shouldn't have shot 7 times. That said, my guess is that they were responding to a 911 call about him, and the warrant was for domestic abuse and rape, likely the same person who called 911. So, I mean, it's a messy case, and I'm not going to ever claim to have all the answers, because I don't. And just be patient and just wait for all the facts to come in before going to war with people about what the truth is,
or burning down businesses,
obviously. Well, let's get to that, because there's been a shit ton of rioting and looting and just violence in Kenosha. Kenosha, for those who aren't familiar, is about an hour south of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, along Lake Michigan.
Well, we know Hillary doesn't know where the fuck that is.
Hillary really doesn't know where the fuck that is. But everything really began to boil over when Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old from Illinois, he traveled to Kenosha. No, Kenosha from where he I'm trying to, I think it was Antioch. Yeah. Kyle Rittenhouse of Antioch, Illinois. For those who aren't familiar with the geography, Antioch is about 33-minute drive from Kenosha, just across the state line. So it's not like he went really far out of his way, but far enough out of his way that he brought a fucking rifle with him. And I'll just read this story right here. So police arrested Lake County teenager Kyle Rittenhouse on a murder charge following shootings in Kenosha Tuesday night that killed 2 people during unrelenting violent demonstrations over the police shooting of Jacob Blake on Sunday. Wisconsin authorities have revealed few details of the 17-year-old Rittenhouse's alleged crime, but the shootings came as civilians armed with rifles inserted themselves into the protests, looting, and fiery property destruction that have raged since Sunday night in the city just over the Wisconsin border. The shootings compounded the act of violence that sparked the unrest. A lot of reporters, friends I know that are over there, Julio Rosas, who's actually had a chance to chime in on Habibi Power Hour, also has been a guest on Hashing It Out, the podcast I do with the Examiner, and then some other Daily Caller reporters. And I think there was a New York Times reporter, Julie Bozeman, who's out there covering everything. But what I'm seeing is that I don't know where the police were in all this, and I was getting dragged online for questioning how this was allowed to happen and making it look like I was siding with the violent protesters. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, if he's shooting, and if this guy Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people, apparently one was looting a police vehicle and was shot in the head, and I think he was one of the people that died. Like,
it was a used car lot.
Okay, but even then, like,
no, it's not
like lethal force. Like this, I mean, this guy's on camera. You can see it on Twitter. Kyle Rittenhouse saying that they're using lethal force.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, if the police aren't going to step in when
I get
that 17-year-old is a moron, especially for coming down. I mean, I don't know the full story about it.
An alleged murderer now too.
Right. I mean, it's not like he was going down there to protect a friend's property or to be with a friend or something like that. You know what I mean? It was none of that. He just went down there to be down there, part of the opposition of the rioters and stuff. And the thing is when this was something that was bound to happen as well, especially when there was going to be unrest where you have Democratic DAs of Democratic cities going on, not, charging anyone with anything, letting them get away with rioting, burning buildings down, all these kind of things. People are going to take things in their own hands. Now, what the 17-year-old guy did is absolutely stupid. It's not like he owned the place. It's not like he was protecting
it's fucking
his own
reckless
property.
Is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it absolutely is.
No, I mean, like, you put yourself in that situation with a gun in a hostile environment, someone's going to get hurt, and people died by his hands, probably unnecessarily.
Absolutely, it was unnecessarily. And if people who are, ruling over these cities as mayors and governors, they had the chance to do something about it, and they didn't. Yeah. For 3 days, they let businesses burn. They let it get out of hand. They let people get injured. They didn't care. They didn't want to do anything about it.
Yeah. Billy Finn chiming in again. This was allowed to happen because Democrat authorities have failed to protect their cities for months. We've been predicting this since late May. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a failure of lawmakers for sure, for not enacting for not implementing law and order, and letting this get out of hand. And also, I think the media has a lot. They should take part of the blame for sugarcoating a lot of these protests since George Floyd's death in late May and the social unrest that spread throughout the country, in which they tried to paint, at least in Minneapolis, buildings being burned down, the AutoZone singularity, where an AutoZone always burns down as peaceful protests. So, like, it's just absolutely insane. But so President Trump's going to be sending in the National Guard to Kenosha.
He offered it before, and the governor rejected it.
Governor Tony Evers of Wisconsin, who replaced Scott Walker. Tony Evers is a Democrat. But let me just read this quick news item. He said that he will send federal law enforcement and the National Guard to Kenosha to restore law and order amid days of unrest in the city. Trump tweeting that we will not stand for looting, arson, violence, and lawlessness on American streets. My team just got off the phone with Governor Evers, who agreed to accept federal assistance. Portland should do the same. Put that in parentheses. Today, I will be sending federal law enforcement and National Guard to Kenosha, Wisconsin to restore law and order. So do you think, I'm curious, do you think now what is the first domino to fall in which other cities and states start letting federal law enforcement officers into their domains, their jurisdiction to maintain the peace?
Yeah. And the reason why is, for example, Don Lemon, I think it was today, was talking about how the polling.
I have that clip.
This is bad because go ahead, play the
let's play the clip. Let's play.
I do think that what you said, what's happening in Kenosha, is a Rorschach test for the entire country, and I think this is a blind spot for Democrats. I think Democrats are ignoring this problem or hoping that it will go away, and it's not going to go away. And so, unless someone comes up with a solution over the next 73 days or 70, however many days,
68 days,
68 days. So it's not going to, the problem is not going to be fixed by then. But what they can do, and I think maybe Joe Biden may be afraid to do it. I'm not sure. Maybe he won't. Maybe he is. He's got to address it. He's got to come out and talk about it. He's got to do a speech like Barack Obama did about race. He's got to come out and tell people that he is going to deal with the issue of police reform in this country, and that what's happening now is happening under Donald Trump's watch, and on Donald Trump's watch. And when he is the president, Kamala Harris is the vice president, then they will take care of this problem. But guess what? The rioting has to stop. Chris, as you know and I know, it's showing up in the polling. Mm-hmm. It's showing up in focus groups. It is the only thing right now that is sticking. And the Democrats tonight stuck with that, right? And they also stuck with the theme that you said, the coronavirus. You got coronavirus and you have Kenosha.
So Don Lemon right there. And look, I think Don Lemon received quite a licking for that because normally under any circumstance, you would want violence to end regardless of the political ramifications. Don Lemon's like, we're going to lose the election if we don't stop the violence and rioting and the protesting. Like, okay, you spilled the beans.
Right. He did. And Chris Cuomo is right there shaking his head like a fucking moron, even though he had like two months ago, he was like, where does it say that protests can't be a little violent and all this kind of bullshit, and then got dunked on by somebody eating dry ramen. God, he's such a fucking moron. And the thing is, when you look at these people do these segments, when you look at Don Lemon do a segment like that, he's not an objective journalist. He isn't.
Are we talking about Don Lemon or Chris
Don
Cuomo?
Lemon.
Yeah. Well,
Chris Cuomo is a fucking fucktard. Like, he's nothing. He's a fucking turd in CNN. But Don Lemon, he's on there every day like an objective news anchor as a journalist, but he's not. He isn't. He fake cried for Smollett. He's coming in here saying what Democrats should do and how they should do it. That's not an objective journalist. That's somebody like Hannity. That's somebody like Tucker Carlson. And CNN needs to stop pretending that they are an objective news agency. I mean, all of these people, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, Jake Tapper, Brian, my dick Stelter. They're not. And they've allowed this kind of, it's not like they've allowed because, I mean, fuck them. They don't have as much power as they think they do. But they do have a certain responsibility in order to be able to objectively portray the news. Not to say that what is happening isn't really happening. Like Oliver Darcy, we have like people from Town Hall, we have people from Daily Caller down in the streets when these riots happen, And what does Don Lemon do? He called the mayor up in, I think, Seattle or in Portland. And the mayor's office was like, no, it's all good. So he's like, he wrote a report. Oh, it's all good. I called the mayor's office. Like, what the fuck are you? What the hell are you? Like, what is that? Anyone can call the mayor's office. What the fuck, man? And he's like, oh, right-wing people are over-exaggerating because I called the mayor's office. And he said, no, it's all good. It's all dandy. Of course the mayor's going to say it's all dandy. What the fuck's your problem? It's insane. It's fucking insane. Journalism has gone down the toilet hole, and it's because of CNN.
Charles Spellman, thank you, Charles, chiming in here saying, don't know who this Allah individual is, but he sounds like a pretty swell guy. I'm curious about real-time voter swing with these events.
Well, that's why the tone has been changing with Biden and Harris and everything. The swing states have come in, and it shows Trump coming up, closer in the poll.
He just loves saying coming. Let's check out the poll.
It is also my favorite spice. Cumin, you stick.
Cumin. Okay, so if we're just looking at Real Clear Politics average, and again, this is just a rough screenshot of what the electorate is feeling right now. It has nothing to do with November. Also, I don't trust polls until after Labor Day, which is about a week and a half away, because that's when people really start paying attention. And also, a lot of polls focus on just registered voters. They don't focus on likely voters. Likely voters are key, so remember that. But in every battleground state that's currently on Real Clear Politics homepage, Biden is leading by 5.5 points or less in Florida, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Arizona. The only place where it's statistically tied, based on the average, of course, is in North Carolina. So now, if we're looking at battleground states in the second half, Georgia, Iowa, Texas, Trump still has a lead there. But in Ohio, in Michigan, and Nevada, Biden is currently leading. So Trump has a lot more to lose, honestly. He has to win a lot more battleground states. I'm sorry. Of the 2016 map compared to 2020, Trump can't lose any one of the Rust Belt states or he's fucked. Like, it's just, yeah.